Welcome back everyone to episode number 8 of the Tricks and Traps Speedrun. So I am coming into today rated 907 on the win streak of 33 games. So we'll try and keep it going and let's hop into the first game. Okay, first opponent playing Malowski. And I'm going to play something I haven't played yet this series. There was one comment asking for this specific gambit. It's called the Duras Gambit. And f5 is probably the worst possible move against e4, but it's already paying off. Because I'm taking over the center, I win back the pawn, and yeah, maybe after the game I can show how white can better refute this opening. But life is pretty good. There might be a threat of take, and then bishop takes d5. So, have to be a little bit careful. I mean, I could take back with pawn. Yeah, pausing for a moment here. How to deal with the center pressure. Let's just develop actively. Bishop c5. If takes, I think I will take with pawn. And then maybe use a g-file. Maybe eventually castle queenside. Now white could apply more pressure with knight c3. But white castles. So, yeah, I might as well castle myself. The f-file is half open, and this is one benefit of playing the Duras Gambit, is usually the f-file will open very early. And I'm wondering if I can maybe target f2. There's some pressure against the pawn. Queen d6 might be called for. Yeah, I'm going to play queen d6. Actually, maybe I can be a bit more aggressive. Yeah, I'm going to play bishop g4. I think this is a bit more effective. Pinning the knight, also threatening knight d4. And then try and destroy white's structure on the king side. I'm also trying to make use of the f-file sooner rather than later. Maybe h6 eventually. And pinning the knight is one way to defend the e-pawn. So maybe white could try h3. And then I'll have to decide, like, do I want to retreat and maybe allow g4? It's probably very weakening for white. And if white gets too greedy, then I think in the very end I might have tactics with the f-file. White plays c4. So, okay, trying to create more pressure on the diagonal. I don't think this changes too much in terms of my plan of knight d4. There's also e4 to consider, but after e4 there's takes. Actually, e4 could be very complicated because there's also pawn takes d5. So I'm going to rely on some intuition. Just play knight d4, not worrying about the center pawn, or center pawns. Actually, both pawns are hanging, technically. But I have bigger targets in the position. And one goal is to probably take with knight on f3 and then bishop h3. I do want to play in a way to keep generating threats. So we do see rook e5. And I do have options here. So takes, and bishop h3 is one option. And visually it looks good, but it's not super forcing. Like white would have options after bishop h3. There's also takes, and then my knight just stands on d4. I could maybe start with queen d6. A way of threatening to win material with take the knight and then take the rook. Maybe that offers me more flexibility too. Yeah, I'm going to play queen d6. So rather than relieving the tension, I'm essentially increasing the tension, improving my queen, Also unpinning the knight, so if I can maybe move the knight off the f-file and then the rook can be unleashed, add another attacker to the knight on f3. Okay, white takes. This is a good sign. Although white wants to win this pawn, which I don't mind. I'm going to take with queen. So now there's 1, 2, 3, also the rook, so 4 attackers directed towards f3. There's a lot of threats involving like takes and then fork, or just take, remove the guard of the rook. Maybe white can try rook takes d5. But rook takes d5, I mean, I'll still take and take and take and win some material, maybe have some mating attack too. So my opponent's taking their longest think of the game, probably realizing all the danger here. And yeah, it's a dream scenario from the Gambit, using the pressure on the f-file. All the pieces are in play, except for this rook, really. And now I could take with knight, but let's take with bishop, because if takes back, it's a triple fork. And if white doesn't take back, then queen g6 is on tap. Even bishop takes g2, and eventually I'll go in for the kill. I'm really not sure how white can best fight here. The counterplay is very limited. Maybe taking the pawn, but probably still queen g6. There would be one potential check, king h8. I think it's just a matter of time. In the previous episode, I had some games where my opponents were stalling in very losing positions. This opponent might just be trying to find the best way to fight on. Okay, rook takes d5. Not a move I was expecting. I could take the rook. There's 92. There's rook ae8, which also looks nice. Let's play this. Get the final piece involved. It's one of the principles of attacking chess is you should really invite all your pieces to the party. Now all my minor and major pieces are playing a role. Maybe we'll see queen f1. Queen f1, knight e2, king h1. Feels very close to checkmate. I mean, there's so many different ways to win. Like still, the rook is hanging, so I could cash in material. I'm actually thinking if queen f1, it would maybe be bishop g2. Okay, we see queen d2. So yeah, let's go for knight e2 here. And wherever the king goes, I think bishop takes g2 is the most efficient way. And it looks like mate in a couple more moves. King takes g2, queen f3, king f1, only legal move. And then this or this will be mate. Okay, a nice quick game, 18 moves. Yeah, my opponent played the best move on move 2, pawn takes pawn. And the reason why this is one of the worst openings for black against e4 is, yeah, it's weakening, it loses material. But of course, as we saw in the game, if white doesn't follow up correctly, then black can get a very comfortable position. So the best move for white in this position is pawn d4, so that after black plays pawn d5 to try and regain the pawn, white can happily defend and develop. And then it's really not easy to win the pawn on f5. Life would go on. I would play c5 and still try and pressure the center, probably eventually e6 to trade off and get some development. So it is a playable opening, but of course, definitely dubious, especially at a higher level. So, nice start, up to 916. Let's keep it going. Playing Yeg chess. And let's play d4. I've almost exclusively played e4 this speed run, but there have been requests for some gambits that sometimes start with d4. Let's play g4. This is called the Gibbins-Weidenhagen Gambit, at least according to chess.com. And yeah, it's one of the earliest gambits you can play against knight f6. The idea is to deflect the knight away from the center and then control the center with the pawns, also gain time attacking the knight. So black will have to figure out how to save the knight. Of course, there is retreating. I think the best move here is pawn d5 to defend and also strike in the center. But one of the nice things about playing these offbeat gambits is my opponents will very likely be out of their comfort zone from early on. Sometimes take a lot of time early on as well. So d6 is also a very fine move. Now, yeah, it's a question. Do I want to attack the knight or just leave it there? I might just leave it there and develop, and then decide later if I actually want to kick it away. I think knight c3 is a pretty flexible move. So g6. So black is maybe going for a Pirtz or King's Indian setup. And I'm thinking now it might make sense just to attack the knight, make it move back. Yeah, let's play bishop e2. Developing with tempo. I guess black could defend with h5, which black does. So reinforcing the knight. Now, if I really want to kick it, I do have h3. I'm also kind of interested in this move. Like usually the bishop isn't great on g5, but because black's committed to this, the pawn can't move backwards. f6 would always be weakening. Let's go for this. I think one of the plans eventually is to play queen d2 and castle, and then either try and attack on the king side, or just crash through in the center. And especially with committing to g4 on move 2, it's pretty unlikely that I ever want to castle kingside in such an opening. Like more likely that I want to get a rook to g1 and use the half open g file. So black plays knight d7, which maybe allows me to win back the pawn. There is takes, takes, and takes. Not sure if I want to be so materialistic though. I'm considering h3 here. Force the knight back. And then something like f4, and then going for e5. All right, let's play h3. I feel like this could lead to a lot of quick initiative. Also just a space grab too. And the knight doesn't have too many options. There's h6 or f6. Or bishop h6. Wow, the counterattack. Not a move I was expecting. But if I take, there's knight takes, and it's just a trade. If I take this way, I lose a bishop. Now I could win a pawn in this line. Take on h5. Yeah, this is making me slow down a little bit. Considering other options like f4. f4 could lead to trapping the knight. Yeah, like f4 takes, takes, and I control the retreating squares. There would be knight e3. But then queen d3, knight g2, king f2, knight h4. I think the knight gets trapped in the end. Kind of a long calculation, but let's play f4. And this is one of the moves I wanted to play if the knight were to retreat to f6. So it still creates possibilities that if the knight goes to f6 here, which, okay, doesn't happen, so maybe we can analyze later. Let's go for queen d3. Actually, queen d2... How do I want to do this? Queen d2 might be better. I'm just realizing queen d3, there's check, king moves, and then knight f4. Oh, there's a really funny line. Knight g2, king f2, knight h4, and then king g3. Trapping the knight with my king. I could play queen f4 too. Queen f4 might be a bit safer. Keep the king back. But I play king f2 to ensure that I control the g2 square and, yeah, basically force the knight to try and save itself. But, okay, black does not feel obligated. So, yeah, let's take the knight. Now there's takes, and if I take back, there's queen g5 with check. There's a nice idea. I'm going to play knight to d5, keeping the g5 pawn defended. And then if c6, which looks kind of annoying at first, I'm looking at knight f6. So c6, knight f6, knight takes f6, and then queen takes d4 with the pin. Yeah, let's go for this. Yeah, this is basically a way of trading, but also ensuring that I'm not losing the pawn. Assuming I'm not overlooking anything. So I did temporarily get back the piece, but yeah, if the knight moves, then the rook is lost. And if black, let's say, castles, then I can happily take the knight and get a strong pawn on f6. So pretty crazy start to the game. I've gone full aggression on the king side, won a piece, up material. Okay, with c5, I'm actually considering bishop b5 first. Bishop b5, take. Probably similar. Let's start with bishop b5 though. There's a line where we don't trade queens. If I were to take, then we trade queens, and then it might take longer to win. But if bishop d7, I can take, and if queen takes, and I take, and I prevent black from castling. I guess there is king takes, and then we could still be trading. Which I shouldn't mind. Be up a minor piece. Heading into the endgame. Now this pawn is probably more weak than it is strong. This pawn as well is a target. So it still takes work. Rook e1. Let's defend. This or, okay. d5 I'm happy to see because I can play e5. Rook e6 or king e6 was better there. And now, yeah, everything's defended. Probably threatening this move. Attack the rook and the pawn. Maybe black can try rook a6. I'll take. I don't really care about these pawns. I care more about these pawns. So if takes, I have pawn e6, and yeah, the pawn is going to be very close to promoting. Okay, let's get the knight out of f7, so now both pawns can advance freely. f7's coming next. Yeah, let's just make a queen. I could promote to knight with check, but promoting to queen is just better. Getting ready to make another queen. I think it might be better to take with rook. And then, yeah, then promote to queen with check. And mate is coming very soon. Okay. A nice game. That was a fun one. Got some tactics in the middle game. Tactics actually arose from the knight being a bit out of place. I think my opponent played fine the first few moves reacting to this gambit. This is all fine for black. Engine says black is slightly better, but sometimes you can't really trust the engine in such positions because it'll be materialistic, and from a human perspective, it was maybe a bit more enjoyable to play for white. Going forward, yeah, f4 was, this was a nice transformation, and yeah, the knight just got a bit stuck. The main line I was calculating was if knight f6, I was probably going to play f4, and then if black tries to play e5, preventing me from playing e5, I can take and take and take, and if takes, then I win a ton of material after takes, 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 with a triple fork. So, nice game, up to 925. Let's keep it going. Maybe I'll play another experimental gambit. Knight f3. So I could play g5, which is basically a reverse version of what I played last game. But let's go for e5. This is the Walrus Gambit. Chess.com calls it the Ross Gambit, so maybe this has a few different names. But one of the cool things about this gambit is if white plays e4, it could transpose into a Stafford Gambit accepted. But we're not quite getting that. Pawn e3 is maybe a safer move. And as usual, I'm down a pawn. Every game so far this episode, losing a pawn within the first couple moves. White's being extra, extra safe. Yeah, I think I just want to keep developing. With a pawn on e3, I don't want to play bishop c5, so bishop should be better on d6. Wow, rook g1. Very strange move. It allows bishop h2. I could repeat, and then white won't have castling rights on the king side. But I think I'm better off just continuing development. And queen e7, bishop f5. What to do? Even c5 to discourage pawn d4. I'm going to play queen e7. I think this is the most flexible. I'm not sure if my bishop wants to develop here immediately or maybe to e6. And there is a potential idea of going into h2 with the queen. Like if white played b3, then queen h2 would actually win a rook. White plays a4, so playing some random pawn moves. Do I want to just go for the immediate trap? I think now I'll play bishop f5. Just completing development. Queen e5 would maybe run into f4. Okay, this runs into g4. Interesting. So I'm thinking bishop e4 setting up bishop h2. Yeah, let's do it. The bishop could get kicked. Okay, white plays bishop g2. Oh, it's very close to winning material. But bishop h2, there's rook h1. And then take, and it's just a trade. So do I want to actually commit to this? I could just castle and focus on development. Yeah, let's not overthink things. I'll castle. And one of the benefits with this gambit is I don't have any center pawns, so I have two half-open center files. And white's played b3, so this now allows the tactic I was thinking about earlier with queen e5. Threatening the rook and queen h2. Although queen h2, king f1. But then I'll eventually win the pawn. So king f1 will defend the bishop and rook. But then I can take and either take the pawn immediately or give a check and then take the pawn. Or we have this line, so I'll just take the bishop, and life is very good. Still getting ready to win h3. Now threatening bishop f3. So I really don't care about the bishop tension. Yeah, no mercy here. So now I'm up a full queen. Again, I'll try and be efficient with converting the advantage. I'll win the pawn on d2. Yeah, this feels like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Everything's falling for white. I'm still hungry. Where's the mate? Takes, maybe check first. And then check, and then this will be mate. Okay. That was a fun game. Another example of, yeah, losing a pawn early, getting some quick development. White was just a bit slow to develop minor pieces and fight for the center. And eventually it was very costly to white. Got the tactic. Yeah, if king f1, this would have been a better way to fight. But it's already looking very good for black. Takes. I could check and then win the pawn with check. And then, yeah, black is doing very well here. So let's keep it going. I'll do one more. This time I'm white. I'll play d4 again. And if d5, I'll play the beginning of a Blackmar-Diemer Gambit. Pawn e4. Now there's a few gambits within the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit. I was reading some YouTube comments. Someone was asking for the Rider Gambit. But my opponents tricked me into a French defense, which, yeah, I was not fully expecting to have to play a French. But here we are. I guess I could have played a Caro-Kann too. I think there's a gambit within the French. I forget what it's called, but it starts with advanced variation. And the idea is after c5, I'll just play knight f3, and I'll allow black to take, and then I won't take back. But we're getting something different here. Pawn f6. I think I'll still play... Do I want to play knight f3 or bishop d3? Actually, bishop d3 is a bit trickier. Already preparing queen h5, g6, and bishop takes g6. And then there's a pin on the h-file. This is probably playable for black. Like, there's some compensation. My queen will be in the corner. But a nice little opening trap. It's not the typical Blackmar-Diemer lines that I was hoping for, but still aligns with the tricky and trappy chess. So attacking the knight and wanting to win back the pawn. Let's take with tempo. And now I should probably develop. I'm considering just going after this pawn. Like, if I play queen h7, can black defend? I don't think so. Like, originally I was thinking just knight f3, but if black can't defend g6, then might as well. And I'm threatening to take g6 with check, so gain some initiative there. Maybe black can just keep developing and then run with the king. Yeah, pretty much the whole king side is dissolving for black. I guess there's also g5 here. Okay, we see knight c6, so attacking e5. I'll take. And now let's develop and defend. And going forward from here, there are a few plans for white. Of course, I do want to develop the rest of my minor pieces. I probably won't castle kingside. Okay, we see knight e7. I do have to be careful of my queen being very deep within black's territory. I'll play queen f7, so pinning the knight. Yeah, I wanted to mention that I don't think I'll castle kingside because the rook is behind the h-pawn, which is passed. And one of the ideas is just to storm my h-pawn down and make another queen. Even though it takes time, it might be hard to stop. So let's do it. I'll keep pushing, as long as black is not making threats. Okay, this is a threat though, so I do have to be careful. If I play bishop e3, there's queen takes b2, so have to be very careful. I could defend by moving my knight. Like knight g5 is discovered defense. That's kind of nifty. Also looking to get rid of this knight on e4. Oh. I'm just realizing there's takes, and takes. But then the bishop is hanging, which I should have acknowledged that, yeah, the bishop's undefended. I think this is okay. There. I might end up losing the rook on a1, but it wasn't doing anything anyway. And now I'm kind of torn. No, let's just take the bishop. And black could take the pawn with check. Okay, we enter this line. I don't think there's force mate. I have to be careful. Like if I play this, there's bishop d7, then my queen is hit, and black's threatening to win the knight and rook. So I think it's worth playing this first. Probably just to defend the pawn. And it forces king b5. I could play a4 and try and drag the king further up the board. I could also castle. There's king d2 as well. Actually, king d2 looks nice. But that walks into queen d4 check. Okay, let's be simple. I'll just castle. And now I'm threatening knight a3 to attack the king and the queen. And my king is very safe now. This pawn is 3 squares away from queening. If queen takes a2, knight c3 is a fork. So I think it's going to be very difficult for black to resist here. It's also very difficult to develop the pieces. Okay, this is winning the queen. I'm just trying to calculate some force mate Is this more efficient? I lose a knight. Bishop e7. The king walks all the way in. Nah, let's just take the queen. And form the battery towards b4. Okay. That was a fun game. A nice king hunt towards the end there. Yeah, I think overall that was pretty smooth. The gambit that I was going for, if black plays a main move in this position, c5, I think I would have played knight f3, pawn digs d4, and then bishop d3. And this is a gambit I really haven't played much of, but I'm vaguely aware of, where basically you just leave the double pawns on the d-file, you develop around them, and then there's some potential later that if black castles at the wrong moment, there's a Greek gift with very strong attack for white. But yeah, what happened in this game, got the early tactics with black weakening the king side, and life was good. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks everyone for watching. If you have questions, leave them below. If you like the content, hit subscribe. It does help the channel, and I'll see you guys soon.